Typically, in an M&A scene, when the owners are exiting the business, the buyers would want to have some kind of protection in the form of non-compete arrangement. So it's always been a challenge negotiating non-compete provisions. But now it's been clear that no additional consideration will be paid to the promoters by way of non-compete fees. So it's early days, we'll have to see how this will be sorted out. Okay. Let's look at value creation through a case study. There was this company A, which was into manufacturing inverters based in North India. It was staying ahead of competition through constant innovation. It had a very strong brand, a very high customer recall, was able to charge premium prices for its products, adding capacity both at the plant level and with its sales force. Second, it meant uneven cash flows, erratic working capital requirements. And the other factor was there was significant dependence on a third party for a vital raw material, and that is inverter battery. Generally, the customers would be purchasing the inverters and the batteries together. So what Company A did was, Company A acquired Company B. Company B was a battery manufacturer based in Western India. It did not have a strong brand. In fact, it tried by pricing its products below the market leader and by giving better margins to its trade partners. They were very obvious. One was, Company A was able to sell the complementary products, inverters and batteries. Second, during the lean season, during the winter season, its sales force now started selling the batteries. Third was, it got access to a new market in the West. And importantly, it was able to de-risk itself by reducing its dependence on a third party for the batteries. So far as Company B was concerned, Company B immediately post its transactional sales increase because Company A would now sell both the products. It could leverage on the strong brand of Company A. Again, both these companies were using each other's distribution network, so that meant lower logistics expenses. Company B actually put up a battery manufacturing facility in North India given the demand for batteries there. And it also opened up a new market for Company B in the form of replacement for the inverter batteries, because these batteries, you need to replace them every 3 years. So in effect, it was a win-win situation. It was 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, with increased sales, increased access to markets, increased customer base, better utilization of resources, savings, and better margins. So the sum total of all this was improved shareholders' value. Having said all this, the question is, do all mergers create value? In fact, most of the studies have shown that more than 50% of the mergers are not successful. The reasons for this could be strategic, rather mostly strategic, and sometimes execution related. On the strategic side, it could be that there is no proper strategic fit, or it could be a very ambitious strategy. You all may be familiar about the GTL example. GTL Infra purchased the telecom towers business of Aircel. They purchased some 17,500 odd towers at a whopping 8,400 crore. This transaction was the largest all-cash asset purchase transaction in Indian corporate history. And with this, GTL was supposed to get a pan-India presence. 1 year down the line, GTL is struggling. In fact, you may have read in the newspapers, it is trying to work together a debt restructuring package. On the execution side, the synergies which were contemplated at the pre-deal stage, they will not accrue if the company is the merged entity is unable to retain the key customers and the key employees. Sometimes the due diligence may not be thorough. Significant risks may not have been identified. Very often, mergers have been likened to a marriage. And just as in a marriage, all the focus seems to be only on the D-Day. The optimism, the fanfare, everything goes with the D-Day. Not much effort is put on working the relationship thereafter. There are people with different working styles, different motivational styles, different communication styles who are coming together. So it's important that these issues are thrashed out much before the deal is closed and rolled out. So these things have to be sorted out at the pre-deal stage itself, rather than waiting for them at the post-deal stage. Longer the transition period, greater will be the loss of shareholder value. So for a transaction to be successful, it's important that the deal synergies are quickly captured. In fact, last year at PwC, we had carried out a post-merger integration survey, and I thought I'll share with you some of these findings. What we found was almost 50% of the organizations felt that the M&A had not achieved the deal objectives. Then there were more than 60% who were unable to retain their key employees. As high as 67% felt that the integration affected their day-to-day business, and a whopping 88% felt that the integration could have been done better. What were the learnings? What were the learnings from this study? One was, it was felt if the M&A benefits, if the synergies are quantified, then that can bring in clarity and better focus. Second is the integration has to be planned in detail. There should be an integration management office which would own up the integration process and monitor the progress. And then the speed of integration. The time from the announcement of the deal to the deal close and 100 days post that is very critical if you have to capture the quick wins. And that would set during this period you have to prepare the organization for realizing the long-term gains. Often what is found is the integration process is left to the operational people, but it's important that the top management and the M&A team is also involved in the integration process. And then communication. The anxieties of all the stakeholders need to be addressed in a timely manner. It's better to over-communicate rather than under-communicate. Then each transaction would be different. These are not answers for all the questions, but perhaps there is some insight that we can gain from others' experience. So we thought it would be, because this was a survey based on a large number of companies across industries, based on the CEO and CFO, their opinions who had gone through a merger in the recent past. So to sum it up, I would say that in a merger and acquisition, it is important that all the three stages, that is the pre-deal stage, when you're carrying out your diligence, you're trying to ascertain the strategic fit, the synergies, these are attended to carefully. The negotiation, the valuation stage, this is paid attention to. And of course, the post-acquisition integration process. If you have to realize the synergies, then it's important that the integration process is well managed. And at the end of the day, one has to remember that M&A is not a strategy by itself. It is only a tool to implement a strategy. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.